Right. All right. It sounds like we are live. So, good morning, everyone. Good morning to those of you who are here actually on Zoom and those of you who are here on YouTube, whether that's right now or later. Good to see you all this morning. I know we'll have a few more people probably joining us as we're talking, but it's wonderful to see you all. So if I haven't met you yet, I am Reverend Carol Bedeau. I am privileged to serve as Westside's minister. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am in Asheville today. This is the wonders of our new virtual reality. And this is one of the amazing gifts that we have from the pandemic is that we can actually do this despite the fact that you can't get into the parking lot at the church right now still. So, so just a reminder to everyone, this service is being live streamed. So towards the end of the service, we're going to have a chance to share sort of what's going on for each of us with what someone called Snowmageddon, which I thought was brilliant. We are going to we're going to be sharing a little bit, and so just remember that it's being live streamed. So it feels really personal and intimate for those of us who are on Zoom, but it is live streamed, so just be mindful of that. A couple other reminders for us. Let's see, so obviously we are not having our auction today. That's clearly not happening. But it is going to be happening next week. So if you are interested in checking out what's available for the auction in advance, I believe that that's accessible through the newsletter. And you can get to that probably through our website. Also, for those of you who aren't going to attend the auction in person next week, there's a virtual option for the auction that you can check out. And we are going to juggle the schedule of things that have been going on a little bit. So this has kind of pushed some of our other activities into different time scales. We were planning to start our spiritual discussion group in February, and that's not going to happen. We're going to postpone that until March just because of what's going on. We've got to juggle some things. So, okay, I'm checking to see if we have any other announcements. One last announcement is just to remember that you don't have to be buying anything to come to the auction. It's meant to be a time for us to be together and to have fun, and especially after all this being apart and snow and isolation, it may be particularly fun for us to get together. We're not going to do a long justice and generosity piece today so that we have more time to share. So just a reminder that if you want to make a contribution to Westside, to support Westside, you can do that online. You can do that in the building. That's always appreciated. And we're working on new projects that we'll be doing in the coming months. For those of you who are interested, I know that there's been some work going on to provide food to some of the warming shelters and other places in town. So, all right. So I'm going to just invite you all to take a minute to take a breath. I have the privilege of using the singing bowl of my eldest kid Shannon's new husband, Sawyer. We had an elopement this week. So this is a Sawyer singing bowl that we're going to be inviting to sound. So as we invite the singing bowl to sound, I invite you to just come present, just take a deep breath, come fully present in your body, in the room. And I believe Ellen has our chalice lighting for us.
I do. And I also am very privileged this morning. I'm going to use the chalice that quite a few years ago, my son Andy made for me. And it's very special to me. And I do have some words, and I think I can light and hold this and read. We'll see. I found these words on the UUA worship web, and they are by Ben Soul, and I thought they were perfect for today. It's called Warmth in Winter. Now has come hard winter, with whip of wind and slash of snow, and the diamond bright stars in the block ice of the heavens. Just as we resist the season with shovel and scraper, wool and windbreaker, we embrace it with sled and snowboard, cocoa and comforter. Winter is here. Let us find warmth in this time of being together.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. So someone used the phrase, the winter of our discontent, which is a fairly well-known phrase that I sort of picked up on. I thought, okay, that's a good starting place, but it required some background research, because even though I've heard the phrase many times, and I'm guessing you have heard the phrase before, I didn't know very much. I mean, I knew it was Shakespeare. I knew it was probably one of the tragic plays about some king, but I didn't really know what it was from. So here's what I've learned. It is from William Shakespeare. It is from the beginning of Richard III, and we are, like so many people, taking it wildly out of context, like profoundly wildly out of context. So the phrase "now is the winter of our discontent," it's generally used to say, well, right now things are really stinky and it's bad and we're upset about it. But that isn't actually what it means in the play. It actually means something passage. And then we're going to unpack it a little bit. So this is the very opening Act 1, Scene 1 of Richard III. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by this son of York. And all the clouds that lord upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean are buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, and our dreadful marches to delightful measures. So, as I said, that's the very opening of Richard III. It's Richard, he's not Richard III yet. He's Richard, but he's not the king yet at the time he says this. The play opens with him talking about setting the context for what's happening. The play is all about this really ugly battle for the throne of England, and it's Richard versus his brother, and then versus Henry VII. But the words are so juicy and metaphorically rich that they have been used all kinds of ways. What Richard is sarcastically saying, actually, is he's sarcastically praising his brother Edward, whose reign as king has started, and he's the son, S-U-N, also the S-O-N of the House of York, whose rise to the throne is dispelling the winter of trouble and war and strife that had beset the land before that. So he's saying now is the winter of our discontent. Not now is the winter of our discontent, but now the winter of our discontent is made glorious by this sun. So he's using the idea of the sun, S-U-N, S-O-N, melting away troubles. But in a twist that is truly Shakespearean, he isn't happy about it. He's being sarcastic about it. And he then proceeds through the play to create all kinds of mayhem and murder and chaos and distress, trying to get to the throne, which he does. And eventually Henry VII knocks him off. Okay. So that's all just, there's your Shakespearean info for the day. But what's interesting about this is that line has been taken out of context a ton, just like we're going to do today. But I thought it would be fun to figure out some of the places where it's already been used. So the place to find that, for those of you who are internet savvy, is Wikipedia's disambiguation page. So if you look up the phrase, and then it tells you where it comes from, and then it says the phrase again, and then it says disambiguation. So here's some things I learned about the ways this phrase has been used. Fascinating. It is the title of John Steinbeck's last novel, which is probably actually, as things go, it's probably the closest to story that Steinbeck creates. There are multiple films by the same name. There are other novels by the same name. There's a series of them through time. This was fascinating to me. There is an album called The Winter of Our Discontent by a band called The Echoing Green from 2003. And that was reprised in 2006 by a punk rock band called The Generators, whose title was The Winter of Our Discontent, parentheses, The Generators. It was used as the title of the 8th episode of the 7th season of the series, the TV American series American Horror Story. And it was used to describe two very specific political periods. It was used to describe, it still is used to describe American history, US history from 1950 to 52, which roughly coincides with the Korean War. And it's also used to describe the winter of 1978 to 79 in the United Kingdom, because there were a bunch of strikes. There were widespread strikes going on. Okay, also slightly taking off from it, there was a 2005 album by Princess Superstar titled Now is the Winter of Our Discotheque. And a 2019 episode of The Simpsons called, and this one is really funny actually, 2019 episode of The Simpsons called Discontent. So bottom line, the phrase gets lots and lots and lots of airtime. It gets all kinds of shades and meaning. It gets used a lot, can be adapted to pretty much anything. And actually what I like about it is that essential feeling of adaptability. Okay, we're going to call in that feeling of adaptability of that phrase today and rely on it as we adapt it. I also particularly like that the passage uses the image of the sun relieving the winter, because that seems pretty appropriate right now. I know that I was in Michigan when this storm hit, and I made it back to the south, but I am stuck in Asheville because I can't get to my farm because the roads are completely closed still. So I'm literally checking on my weather app, I'm literally checking how many little sunshines are showing up hourly to hope that the sun is melting the roads, right? So the passage has that little twist in it that it's the sun melting the winter away. So the passage itself has been adapted to all kinds of different situations. And I think adaptability is a key theme that we're all experiencing right now, right? How many of us are having to figure out how to adapt right now? Like, what does it mean to not be able to drive out of your neighborhood for the last week? Pretty much everyone I've talked, I have friends who live really pretty close to downtown in Knoxville, and they can't get out of their houses or haven't been able to. So I ask you to think about, how are you adapting? What kinds of adaptations are you having to make right now? And what can we take those lessons for? So there are some very real dangers and problems. We can take this discontent. There are certainly very real concerns for safety, and some people are struggling more than others with this weather. I know that certainly when I was traveling, people were very worried about me being on the roads. So there's some very real danger, even, it's even kind of danger to real life, the life that's been a problem for many of us, for most of us. we are privileged and lucky to be living in circumstances where we're pretty safe. We may be worried about our pipes freezing. We may be worried about, others in our community that we're concerned about. But for most of us, we have the ability to be warm, to be comfortable, to be safe, and to even reach out and help others. So that offers a really important perspective, because I think that one of the things that can happen in a time like this is we can get perspective on what really matters. So one of the ways we often, as human beings, adapt in crisis or difficult times is we shift from being discontented to contented. We talked about this a few months ago in a service. We talked about how it is an evolutionary strategy of the human brain to constantly be looking for the problem and trying to fix it. It's a survival strategy to look for what's wrong and not spend quite as much energy on what's going right. But that also gets us in some trouble because it can lead to a feeling of constant anxiety or depression. It can lead us to feel like things are actually worse than they really are. So one of the ways that I think we can adapt is not so much to the physical challenges. For many of us, those are not really that severe, but it's the psychological challenges. So I know that I am getting an awesome opportunity, right? I was traveling with my oldest kid, Shannon, and his now husband, Sawyer, when this happened. And when I brought them home to Asheville, I had to stay. And I could see that. And there have been moments when I've seen that as very uncomfortable. I want to go home. I want to check on my partner. I want to check on my pets. I want to check on things. But it's a huge gift as well. I am getting to spend lots of time with my grandkittens, which is awesome because I have 2 grandkittens here that I'm getting to hang out with. And I'm getting to spend time with my kids, and I'm getting to actually just focus exclusively on some writing projects I've been needing to focus on. I'm getting a chance to sleep and rest. And so I have moments of discontent, and then I have moments of profound contentment that aren't available to me at other times. You know, when crisis hits, often we suddenly gain perspective and notice what's really important. It's backed up by statistics, but anecdotally, we know that people who lived through, say, World War II will often say that it was one of the best times in their lives if they were relatively safe, because people bonded together and they worked together. And there was a feeling of knowing what was a priority, a feeling of community, and a sense of real clear purpose. And these are things that when things are going really well and easy, we can often get lost in the little details. We get lost in the weeds a little bit and forget that sometimes the big things are all that really matter the most. So we get to appreciate things like being able to have food, heat. Heat is really important. And we don't think about it because it's so convenient until it's possibly gone, or water until it's possibly gone. One of the things that we experience on the farm is that we don't have forced air heat. We don't have a heat pump. We don't have a heater at our house. We heat with wood stove. And so I am incredibly grateful for the fact that my partner goes out every day, we pile in wood, and we get up 2 or 3 times a night to keep the heat going in the house. So that is amazing. I am incredibly grateful right now for those of you who have been finding ways to provide food and support for others in the community who are struggling more. There have been people who've been coming to the church, walking to the church and checking on the pipes, checking on how things are going. So in times like these, we get to be reminded of basic community, basic support, basic joys, and also basic struggles and sorrows, whether they're psychological or physical. And they're all kind of wrapped up together. So what we're really going to focus on today is not me talking to you or at you over this venue, but us sharing together. So we're going to just open up conversation, and everybody's going to have a chance to share what's going on for you, how you're doing. This is something we were able to do during our services during the pandemic quite a bit. And I think many of us really appreciated that we were able to talk to each other. But do remember as we do this that we are live streaming to YouTube. For those who aren't with us on the Zoom room, we are live streaming to YouTube. So this is a chance to just share, what if there's anything you're appreciating particularly right now, or if there's any particular challenges that you're dealing with right now, discontentment or contentment. So what I'm going to do is, I think probably the easiest way to do this is you can either raise your hand physically or raise your Zoom hand if you want to share something, and I'll call on people just to simplify things. Be brave, be bold. All right, Linda, you'll have to unmute. Linda, you're muted.
Okay. Am I
There
now?
you go.
Okay. I clicked on it.
You're good.
I said, what I originally thought of was not, rather than the winter of our discontent, it was the discontent of our winter. And that was, I'm not, being a California person, I'm not a cold weather fan, so, or used to dealing with it and know how to deal with it. But I was thinking about a few years ago, we read in the book club, we read this book called The Year of Living Danishly, and they talked about hygge, the concept in the wintertime and the dark climate of, the Scandinavian countries when the winter's very dark and cold. They practice hygge, which is making everything cozy. So I said, well, yeah, I could regard this as being hygge and make everything cozy. But I was constantly worried about my pipes. My pipes have ruptured twice in the time that I've lived in this house. So I was nervous about it. But I was better prepared this year for it. And so far, so good. But so, and I hear what you're saying, Carol, is it gave one thing I said, it's a good thing to be an introvert in times like this. And I had time, and not only time, but just, I don't know, inclination to do things like I did some painting, I did some writing, I've been playing my fiddle, I've been doing things that I don't ordinarily do. And since my boyfriend I'm unable to get out. I'm totally iced in. And so my boyfriend is able to get out, but we have been apart. We usually spend evenings together every day. So I haven't been doing it. So I haven't had to cook. Other than I've been eating leftovers and sandwiches, sort of enjoying the respite from cooking. But anyway, it hasn't been bad. I have been talking to a couple of other people. One, a member of the congregation who's feeling pretty isolated. So we've been talking and kind of bearing each other up. And my friend that lives in Oregon, they've had horrible weather there too. They had an ice storm, and they've been without power for a week now. They have a generator, a big generator that they can run their house on, fortunately. But they don't expect their power to be back on for probably another week. And in their neighborhood, there are houses that have as many as 3 trees that have fallen on them. So she said it's constantly hearing the sound of chainsaws because there have been so many trees down in their neighborhood. So I guess they had a lot of rain, so the grounds were really saturated when the storm hit, and then the ice just toppled these big trees over, roots and all. So anyway, there's lots of suffering going on in the world, in the country, just from the weather. So anyway, that's my story.
Thanks, Linda. Wow, I didn't realize it was that bad on the West Coast.
Yeah,
That's a
and
lot.
particularly they're outside of Eugene, and Eugene was particularly hard hit. The last I saw, there was something like just in that area in their county, 77,000 people without power. So
Wow. Oh, that's awful. That's awful. Thanks. How's everybody else doing?
I think Mary Frances has a hand up.
I do. My hand
Jess,
is up.
was that a, oh, Mary Frances has a hand. Hi, Mary, go.
Oh, okay. So hello, I'm Mary Frances. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone who helped out. So one of the things, and I know that probably not everyone is as chronically online, especially social media, as me, but I am. And it's a vice, but also time like this, it's actually, I find it's the best way to connect in a lot of ways. And I started seeing, my Facebook feed, the fact that there's hundreds of unhoused persons in our community who aren't comfortable going to traditional shelter settings for many reasons. And so some local churches decided to go ahead and open up warming centers. Now, one of them was moved to the South Knoxville Community Center, so that is a government building. And also, I do want to mention that Oak Ridge UU Church opened up a warming center in Oak Ridge, and I think they've been housing about 35 people. So I'm one of those that it's really hard for me to watch and see people who need help, especially if I feel like I'm in a position to do something. And so I just went ahead and popped over to the West Side Facebook group. And if you're not part of it, I recommend you join. And went ahead and asked, like, hey, can we maybe put together a meal for one of the warming centers, one of the smaller ones? Because I know we're a small congregation. And the response that I got was amazing. And so originally I was thinking I can raise $100 and make some sandwiches for people. Well, between Westside and also some of my friends on my Facebook page, we raised over $1,000, which is amazing. Yes. And so yesterday, I want to first of all thank everyone who contributed, whether it's financially or just positive vibes, positive positive energy. Thank you so much for all your support. And so I was in pretty constant contact with the volunteer coordinator, and the needs changed, and I wasn't able to get out till yesterday. And so instead of doing a meal, since I have I can't cook $1,000 worth of food, and I know that a lot of people are still homebound, if you will, because especially I know most of us live in the West Knoxville community. Well, yeah, West Knoxville and Farragut, our roads are not treated, and at least our neighborhoods. If you can get out to the main roads, it's great. But yeah, getting out of most of the neighborhoods here are treacherous. I wasn't really able to go out till yesterday. And so they asked for things like liquid eggs, bleach, coffee. I was like, well, UUs can deliver coffee. We love that stuff. And so, I bought close to, actually with my own money, $1,200 worth of goods at Costco yesterday. And my husband has a 4-wheel drive truck. He was out of town, so I wasn't able to get out till past few days. And we delivered to it turns out that I was told the biggest need was at that point at the Magnolia Warming Center. And they've been feeding and housing 200 people a night. And we were able to get enough to provide those people about 3 meals, plus cleaning supplies and disposables. And so it was amazing. We took it there, and we were given many blessings by the volunteers there at the church. And I spoke with some of the people who've been staying there, and they all came to help unload the truck. And everyone was very touched, appreciative. And even just, thinking about things that certainly a lot of times when you are in a situation where you're being fed, you don't get to choose what you want to eat. And they said new food, things we hadn't had before. It's just like they were so excited and so touched. And so I think we've built some great community connections with this effort. And we did a lot of good. I think this is truly living our values, helping out the warming centers. And the warming centers, I believe, are closing tomorrow night, Monday evening. Some of them will be going on until Tuesday morning. So if you still want to contribute, I mean, financial needs always great, but from what I understand, some of those financial needs are starting to get diverted to other efforts because they've been outpouring. So I think actually, if you're able to physically get out, physical volunteers, what they need at most points, they actually said that what we donated to them should get them through, at least at the Magnolia location, through the end of the warming center period. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. And I was really touched by everyone's efforts. And I know that, I've been thinking about, well, what if we have kind of this impromptu effort comes about? Because I know some people don't ever get online and how to engage them. And that's something we can think about. But for those who, check Facebook multiple times a day, like I do, I want to say, thank you so much for your efforts. And we did some really good work. So thank you.
And Mary Frances, awesome. Thank you. Big thank you to Mary Frances. Big thank you to Mary Frances. Huge for coordinating that, right? That was amazing. I want to read a couple things that have come in on the chat from people who are with us on YouTube. Joey Cody is saying, I love this weather. I'm fortunate to have heat and a 4-wheel drive with new tires, so I've been able to help neighbors. Life is slower and quieter, and the snow is beautiful. Another person, Marita, saying, I did not have water for a week. My pipes froze up. The pipe underground froze up when we had a pipe burst under the trailer. If there's anything we can do to be supportive, please message us, Marita. Let us know if there's anything the community can do to help out with that. We would be more than happy to help in any way we can. Curtis, I've been iced in since Monday. I did venture out on Friday, which was great. And I have ordered a snow shovel, salt, and snow boots. And she says, you're welcome. All the rest of us thanking her for purchasing the winter things, which will prevent all of her future snow. Funny. That's funny. Anybody else want to share what's going on with you, how it's been?
Okay, I really related to everything Carol said. It was, I'm supposed to say, yes, she and her. But anyway, Carol really hit it on the nose, I'd say. My situation is, I don't know why I'm so cold today. I've got the heat at 71, which is the same I've had every day. But today somehow just doesn't seem to be doing the job. But basically everything's good. Pipe's not frozen, heater works, all that good stuff. But I am totally grounded because of the air in my tires. All my tires are low and one is 100% totally flat. And since it's the cold air that causes this, I didn't see much point in getting it fixed until the sub-zero temperatures are gone. So Tuesday, I'll call road service and have them come put air in my tires. But until then, I'm fine. I'm kind of looking at this as stop time. And I'm concentrating on getting a lot of little old things around here that have been around here waiting to get done, but I never get to them. And I'm just saying, okay, now's the time. When I get back in the world, hey, I'll have all that behind me. So I'm good. I'm content, as Carol said.
Awesome. Thanks, Judy. How about others? Jess. Do you go by Jess or Jessie?
Either one. We'll do Jess.
Okay, Jess. What's up with you?
She, they, by the way. So I've got a family of 5 plus a dog. So we've just been enjoying the snow, and we haven't made a snowman yet. So my 7-year-old's begging for one. I have to do that today. I have to do that. But I've been, last week I was meditating about snow all week, just visualizing snow. So my family's like, this is your fault. You did this. You brought this about. I'm like, no, I didn't know I manifest this, but I'm enjoying it. I actually, measured the snow to see how much snow we had. And I didn't measure it when the snow was like the most, but I looked it up and I think we got 10 inches. And I remember in 1993 when we had, you know, the big snowstorm, like how much snow did we get? Because I feel like this is approaching the same levels. And so we got 15 inches in 1993, and I was 6 then. And I remember we didn't have any heat. So we used the kerosene heater. We cooked on top of the kerosene heater, which was kind of fun. And then me and my father walked several miles to Texaco to get like milk and things. So I've just been remembering those sweet memories and just enjoying the snow. We haven't really gone out too much. We got out one day when it was pretty snowy, and I got to drive in the snow. I actually really enjoy driving in the snow as long as it's not too bad. And then we went to the YMCA yesterday and swam, and it was freezing when we hopped back in the parking lot. We're like all wet. My hair is wet. But that was really refreshing to be inside, looking outside the snow and swimming with all the other rambunctious kids that I know needed to get out of the house because we haven't had school this week at all. So we're doing good. We're snug. I'm wearing my giant whatever this is. So we're cozy.
Awesome. I love the idea of you being swimming while it's snowing. That's fabulous. The update here apparently is Shannon just came in to say, I'm going to borrow the space heater because we have frozen pipes. So that just happened. So how about anybody else? What's going on for other people who haven't shared yet? Ellen, you're muted.
I thought I fixed that. Okay. We're fine. We've done fine. We haven't been anywhere except to walk around the neighborhood since Sunday night. But that's been okay. And I don't know. I think you can't teach school for 37 years and not get excited by a snow day. It's just, there's just something you can't give up, about that excitement. And then it starts wearing thin when you really need to get out and do things, and you can't. But there have been inconveniences, but that's all. And the snow has been beautiful. And when we have the sunshine, it just is so bright and just really, really nice to have all that extra light in the gloom of winter. So we're fine.
Thanks, Ellen. That's actually when people talk about seasonal affective disorder, one of the things I often think about is that growing up much further north where there's typically a lot of snow, it is actually quite a bit lighter. That's actually way darker in places that don't get snow because of that reflective factor, right? It's actually way, 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 way darker in the winter in places that aren't as cold. That's a real thing. Darla, did you have your hand up a minute ago?
Yes. Several stories have come to mind that were rather significant in my life. You know me, I'm a storyteller. So back in 78, I had started a new job. I lived in Austin and the job was in Temple and we had moved. And I had a brand new Toyota Celica, and man, was I proud of that car. And the snow line was in between Austin and Temple. So, this was 78, and I didn't really know that there was a snow line. Okay. So here I am, first day of work. Okay. So here I am trucking up the interstate, and all of a sudden it gets bad, and I go, oh no, well, okay. And then there's a car in front of me, and they fishtail, and actually the front of their car hit the front of my car. Now, to have a new car was rare for me, and I just had it a couple of months. But anyway, these folks ended up being undocumented migrants, and they didn't even have a driver's license. So it was very difficult to get. They did have insurance, but it was very difficult to go through the process. And my car ended up being towed to Killeen, Texas, and it was just a mess. So fast forward to the next significant story, which was in 1982, and I was 9 months pregnant, lived in Spring City, Tennessee, and decided to deliver my firstborn son in Athens. So I go to the doctor's office, and this snowstorm starts, and and I get stuck in Athens, and I was actually overdue by this point, and the doctor said, well, we could induce you, if you were, effaced. I wasn't. And so, anyway, my husband at the time and his brother came to get me in their Scout. We went down the interstate. And I don't know if you all know the distance between Spring City and Athens, but it's fairly significant, at least 20 miles. Anyway, we got home and our pipes were frozen. So quite a story. Okay, fast forward to today. In this, of course, I remember the blizzard 93, and this is really not like the blizzard 93. But fast forward to this week, and as many of you know, I live across the street from my family. And so we're interacting, and I have a new neighbor next door that is a Unitarian. She goes to FOOF. And so we've had several meals together. And, I can't say that it's been the best time of my life, but it certainly has been a great time. And my backyard is pretty good for sledding. It's not great, but it's kind of like this. And so my family has come over and been sledding and having a great time. And my granddaughter, who's 5 years old, the other day, my dog was out. It's actually a shared dog. Our dog Blue was out there with them. And so she's about to sled down, and here comes Blue rolling in the snow. And she says, now I wasn't out there, okay, but it's on video, and I'm going to keep. She said, look at Blue, he's making snow angels, and you need to go and tell Baba, which is me. So I thought that was really a sweet story to share of a good time during all of this mess. So, and kudos to everyone that have worked with those in need. It's amazing what you all have done.
Yeah. Thanks, Darla. You know what's really important, I think, to notice about that, those stories, and something Ellen said too, is that how we respond psychologically to stressful times, to challenges and things that are happening, often is tied to our memories, right? We often will connect with the past. So we may have mixed feelings of like, oh, it's a snow day. Oh, now we're the grown-ups, and now we have to deal with the stress of the snow day, right? So there can be mixed feelings around that. But it's really important, I think, to be aware of how the memories impact how we're experiencing things, and also how we can be making memories. I've thought of that a couple times in the last week, like you're saying, Darla, I'm getting a chance to make memories that I would not have had a chance to make if things were going on as normal. So we've been playing online games this week with my son in California, which we wouldn't typically do, right? So there's a way to make memories. Linda put in the chat, I used to go to Montreal on business and stayed in a hotel that had a pool on the roof that was open in the winter. Wow. Okay. You could enter the pool indoors and swim out into the winter cold. Now, there is a brave thing to do. Wow. And Morgan, they're pretty iced in, and were frozen in until yesterday. Oh, wow. The kiddo was with their dad all week, and they were not able to get to them until yesterday. the week has been a lesson to rest and slow down. And wow, including a health scare that required an ER trip via ambulance due to extremely high blood pressure with a migraine. Morgan, we are really glad you're able to log in today too. And really glad you're here and that you're safe. And as I have said before, if there's anything at all that we can do to be supportive, absolutely let me know. Curtis says, when I was doing travel nursing, I went to Northern Michigan in January, driving my Toyota Celica. That is where I learned I needed a Subaru instead. Oh, and hearing about Blue reminded Morgan we were able to get one of our 2 community cats that we care for inside. Oh, that's great. A confused but warm kitty. That's fantastic. Fantastic. So maybe one more. Ellen, go ahead. What you got? Yeah, unmute.
I have a question actually for Mary Frances. I'm curious. When I started seeing the notices that the warming shelters were being opened, it always included a statement, specifically the 2 downtown, I think, always included a statement that pets were welcome. And I assume that the majority of these people being unhoused already, they probably had very few pets, but I'm just wondering, did you notice any pets when you were there?
I did not see any pets when I was there. Doesn't mean that they weren't there, but I think that was, if anything, I think that there are some people who have not, sought shelter before because they're worried about their pet not being welcome. But I was also there during day hours, and so I think it's more in the evening hours when people come in to check in for the night and spend the night. They want to make sure their pet has a place to be.
Right. Yeah. That it made me think of when people. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ellen. Go ahead.
It's that particular part of all this, because I always think about the animals, but it made me think of Katrina, and when people evacuated, at first they were not allowed to take their pets, and it was only later in the game that they started evacuating the people who refused to leave because they were staying with their pets. And those were the people that ended up in Knoxville. So we ended up with lots of animals that needed to be cared for because their owners came here. So anyway, that I was just curious.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things that I think we can take away from all of this, because it looks like it's going to warm up and roads will clear and we will be able to go back to normal. I always sort of hope that when we go back that we are able to take away whatever positives we were able to get during a thing like this. Or that if we've been really struggling, we're able to go back to be better than normal. Maybe, some people have said that it's been an opportunity to rest. And the other thing is that I hope that going back to normal means that we all have a heightened awareness of our need to have those needs supported. So if there are people in the community, we kinds of things to do to if there's a need that you have, don't hesitate to reach out and ask, because maybe we at Westside can't specifically meet the need, but we can help find people or resources that can. And we can also be conscious about keeping track of our community, noticing where the needs are. So I'm going to invite everyone. We're gonna sign off of YouTube. We can stay online and chat as much as anyone would like to. But I just want us to take a second before we sign off YouTube to take a deep breath and recognize the gift of the breath that you have right now, of the day that is available to us, of the sun that is shining and will rise again tomorrow. Take a moment to appreciate this simple opportunity to connect with others, to appreciate the gift of support that is always available to us when we ask. And I'm going to invite our bowl to sound one more time as a way to close our gathering today. Maybe Ellen can blow out our chalice for us, noticing that we extinguish the flame, but not the light that we try to bring into the world and into each other's lives, not the spirit of passion and fire that we have for our values that so many, particularly thank you to Mary Frances, have been showing this week, and the warmth that comes from community. We carry
Carol,
that.
I didn't hear the bowl at all when you rang it before. Maybe you can get it closer to the
Well,
speaker.
I haven't done it yet, Judy, so it's.
Well, you did it at the beginning.
Oh, you didn't hear it at the beginning?
Nothing.
Awesome. Okay, let me see if I can make it. Okay. All right. This is, thank you for the help. I appreciate that. Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay. Like, give me a thumbs up if you hear it, everybody. That's because my computer's probably sound canceling it. Okay, everybody virtually, just imagine that you're hearing the sound of the bowl. You can use your imaginations. So we're going to ask Brad to end the YouTube live stream. Thank you all for being here. And anybody who wants to stick around and